What do you do when ambition shows up in the wrong way? When a team member pushes for power instead of purpose? Do you shut it down or do you shape it? I'm Chris Moore, and this is Lead in 10, where we explore how the leadership of Jesus speaks directly into our modern day challenges. One day, James and John, two of Jesus' closest disciples, come to him with a bold request. They ask, "Grant unto us that we may sit, one on the right hand, the other on thy left hand in thy glory." In other words, Jesus, we want the top spots. When you rule, let us rule right next to you. The other disciples are angry, not because they're holier, but because they didn't think of it first. It exposed the ambition that was already brewing in their hearts. But Jesus doesn't lash out. He doesn't shame them, but he doesn't ignore it either. He takes this opportunity to teach a defining lesson on leadership. Let's go back to Mark chapter 10, verse 43. "But so shall it not be among you, but whosoever will be great among you shall be your minister." Jesus turns the world's definition of leadership upside down. In a culture where greatness meant control, authority, and position, Jesus says, "Not so with you." In the world of servant leadership that's become such a hot topic, it started here. It started with Jesus. In his kingdom, leadership isn't about elevation. It's about service. Greatness isn't in being first, it's in being faithful. And this goes totally against the Roman culture at the time, and that had also driven itself into the church of Jesus' day. This is one of the hardest lessons for modern leaders to really grasp, especially in the fast-paced, performance-driven environments that we live in and that we've created. Ambition in itself isn't wrong, but when ambition is divorced from humility, it becomes a source of destruction. Imagine a rising star on your team. They're talented, driven, and vocal about wanting more responsibility, but over time, their ambition starts to bleed into pride. They talk over teammates in meetings. They take credit for the group's work. They crave titles more than results. How do you respond? You could shut them down, label them a problem, and move on, but Jesus models a better way. He addresses the heart behind the ambition. He invites James and John to examine what true leadership looks like and whether they're ready to suffer for it. That's the difference. He doesn't kill their potential, he redirects it. Notice how Jesus responds, first with a question, then with a challenge. Can you drink the cup I drink? Can you be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with? In today's terms, are you willing to suffer, to serve, and to sacrifice? Because leadership isn't about glory, it's about grit. Jesus didn't reject their desires for impact. He refined their understanding of what greatness required. As leaders, we must do the same. When we see ambition arise in our teams or in ourselves, we shouldn't be threatened. We should be curious. What's fueling it? Is it rooted in insecurity, ego, or is there a genuine desire to serve? Today, reflect on how you've handled ambition, both your own and in those you lead. Have you ever shut someone down because their drive felt uncontrollable or even premature? What would it look like to create a culture where ambition is welcomed, but always shaped by purpose and humility? Think about the emerging leaders around you. Who needs feedback on how they're showing up? Who needs encouragement to shift from seeking position to embracing service? Have that conversation. Like Jesus, we need to lead with grace and truth. We need to affirm the gifts that God has given, but sometimes we also need to challenge the motive behind how we're using those. Invite them into a deeper understanding of leadership. So before you do anything else, identify one team member who shows that strong ambition, and have a conversation with them. Ask what drives them and listen with empathy. Then gently share what true greatness looks like, serving others, lifting others, and leading with humility. And for you, I want you to write down the areas where your own ambition might need to be recentered. Where have you been chasing recognition instead of responsibility? And pray over it. Ask God to align your ambition with His definition of what greatness is. If this devotional helped you to see leadership through a new lens, share it with someone else who's on that leadership journey. Help them grow and you grow along the way. And remember, Jesus didn't condemn ambition. He just showed us how to aim it properly. Thanks for joining me on Lead in 10. Until next time, stay humble, stay hungry, and lead with your heart. I'll see you next time.